Why do we celebrate Naga Panchami? What's the story or the Vrat Katha behind this festival? Is there something mentioned in the Puranas about it? That's what we're going to find out in this episode. In order to understand why millions across India worship the Nagas on the 5th day of the bright fortnight of Shravana, we must look back to the origins of the serpent race from our Puranas. So make sure you watch this video till the end for a fascinating experience. I'm K. Kumar, author and screenwriter, and you're watching Chaturya. The sacred festival of Naga Panchami is far more than a seasonal observance. It is a timeless account born from the intersection of cosmic destiny and the preservation of nature. And this is associated with a great serpent sacrifice called Sarpasatra. But long before this Sarpasatra, the fate of the Nagas was sealed by their own mother, Kadru. In a legendary bet with her sister Vinata regarding the color of the celestial horse Uchcheshravas's tail, Kadru commanded her serpent sons to cover the horse's tail with their dark bodies to cheat the outcome. When the righteous Nagas refused to participate in this deception, in this cheating, Kadru was consumed by rage. She uttered a terrible curse that her own children would one day be consumed in the blazing fire for great king's yajna. Generations later, the catalyst for that cosmic curse manifested on earth. King Parikshit, the noble grandson of Arjuna, ruled the Kuru Empire with righteousness. One afternoon, while hunting deep in the wilderness, extreme hunger and fatigue overtook King Parikshit. Searching for water, he entered the quiet ashram or hermitage of Rishi Samika. The sage sat in deep meditation, bound by a strict Mauna Vrata, a traditional vow of absolute silence. Unaware of this vow, King Parikshit asked for water. When the sage did not respond, a moment of uncharacteristic anger seized the king. He looked around and saw a dead serpent on the ground. He lifted the dead serpent with the end of his bow, not even with his hand, with his bow, and placed it over the shoulders of the silent Rishi and returned to his capital. The Rishi did not react. But when his son, Sringin, returned and witnessed the disrespect towards his father, the righteous fury consumed him. Touching sacred water, Sringin uttered a fateful curse. Within 7 days, the mighty Nagaraja Takshaka would kill Parikshit with his venomous bite. Upon learning of the curse, King Parikshit accepted his lapse with deep remorse. To protect the crown, his ministers erected a single-pillared palace, a tower, reaching to the sky, guarded by physicians, holy herbs, and priests chanting protective mantras and hymns. There was no window or gaps in the wall through which the serpent could enter. It was a total fortress. As the 7th day approached, sage Kashyapa, possessing the divine antidote to serpent venom granted by Brahma, journeyed toward the palace to save the king. And on his path, Kashyapa encountered Takshaka, who was disguised as a traveler. The Adi Parva of the Mahabharata details an extraordinary confrontation of power along that forest path. To test Kashyapa's capability, Takshaka struck a massive banyan tree with his poison. The venom of Takshaka reduced the banyan tree into ashes in a single instant. Sage Kashyapa gathered the ashes, recited his sacred mantras, and reconstructed the tree's sprout, stem, branch, and leaf, restoring it to full vitality. Realizing that Kashyapa could counter Takshaka's venom, the great serpent appealed to the cosmic alignment of time and offered the sage immense wealth to turn back. Recognizing that the king's departure, King Parikshit's departure, was ordained by destiny, Kashyapa accepted the offering and departed. Takshaka then moved forward and arrived at the fortress of the King Parikshit. He had to get inside, but how? That was the question. He looked around and saw offerings for the king, food and fruits. Takshaka disguised himself as a small worm and hid inside one of the fruits, which was being offered to the king. And just when the king was about to consume the fruit, the worm transformed into the giant Takshaka and struck King Parikshit, fulfilling the Rishi's curse and killing the king immediately. Following his father's death, King Janamajaya ascended the throne of Hastinapura. When sage Uttanka revealed how Takshaka had manipulated events and bribed Kashyapa, Janmajeya's grief transformed into wrath. He wanted revenge from the Nagaraja Takshaka for killing his own father. So prompted by his ministers and priests, King Janmajaya ordained the Sarpasatra, a cosmic fire sacrifice engineered to exterminate the entire Naga race, the serpent race, from earth. The sacrificial enclosure was constructed. As ancient mantras echoed across the altar, the ancient curse of Kadru began to draw its strength. An irresistible cosmic pull forced serpents and snakes from every corner of the earth, the skies, and the patala to fly uncontrollably through the air, falling into the roaring flames of the Sarpasatra. Millions of serpents perished as the skies darkened with the smoke of the Sarpasatra. Before we continue, I wanted to tell you about my book Naga. This book contains the most well-known as well as unknown tales about our Naga Devatas. If you want to explore these sacred accounts in exhaustive details, you can pick up a copy through the link in the description below or inquiring from a bookstore near you. The fire of the Sarpasatra burned high, and serpents, big and small, were pulled into it by the cosmic force of Agni. They burned and died. Almost facing total extinction, the Nagaraja Vasuki sought aid from his sister, the Nagini Jaratkaru. Also revered in traditional accounts as Devi Manasa, as per Brahma's prophecy, Jaratkaru will marry a sage of the same name and have a child who will save the Nagas from the complete annihilation from Kadru's curse. Now Jaratkaru's son was a young sage Astika, born of the union between sage Jaratkaru and the Nagini. He had been prophesied by Brahma to save the Nagas. Meanwhile, the Nagaraja Takshaka, because of whom the Sarpasatra had initiated, had fled to Swargaloka, seeking sanctuary with his friend Devarajindra. But unyielding, the priests intensified their chants, invoking mantras so powerful that both Indra's chariot and Takshaka along with it were pulled down towards the fire. In order to understand the sheer magnitude of this cosmic event, we must remember that behind the serpent race, the Nagas, stands Ananta Shesha, the primeval serpent who supports the entire cosmos upon his hoods. We covered the grand sacred story of Ananta Shesha and his eternal devotion to Bhagavan Vishnu in a dedicated episode which you can watch after this video. I'll also provide the link in the description. Now coming back to this particular story of the Sarpasatra, to save himself, Indra released Takshaka, leaving the Serpent King hovering precariously over the sacrificial flames. And just as Takshaka was about to fall into the fire, the young sage Astika entered the assembly, uttering profound hymns. Praising the king Janamajaya, Agni Deva and the priests, Astika won the admiration of the entire court. Moved by his wisdom, King Janamajaya offered him a boon. But Astika replied that he did not want gold, realms, land or power. Then the king asked, then what did he want for a boon? The young sage, he replied, the boon I want is that this sacrifice stop immediately and the remaining Nagas be granted protection. Bound by his word, King Janamajaya extinguished the sacrificial fires. The destruction was ceased, and Takshaka was saved at the last moment. The day sage Astika saved the serpent race is believed to be the 5th day of the bright fortnight of the month of Shravana, the day celebrated ever since as Nag Panchami. This Puranic event forms the core Vrat Katha of Nag Panchami. It is believed that those who listen to this story on Nag Panchami are blessed forever. It was decreed as a traditional discipline that whoever honors the Nagas on this day and listens to this Vrat Katha will receive spiritual grace and protection from cosmic afflictions. Nag Panchami stands as a living proof to the pact of non-violence established between humanity and nature. By preserving sacred groves and honoring the divine energy of the serpents, we maintain the cosmic order established by our ancestors. When we study the Vrat Katha of Nag Panchami, we realize it is not merely a ritual of worship, but a reminder of ecological harmony and scriptural wisdom. Sage Astika's intervention reminds us that true victory lies not in total annihilation through anger or ego, but in the restoration of balance and dharma. Thank you for watching Chaturya. I'm K. Kumar. If this account from a sacred history enriched your understanding, then please like this video, share it with your family and friends, and tell me your thoughts in the comments below. May the Nagas be with you.